coming out this morning, and I apologize on the behalf of Sheriff Hanna. We understood he was providing the donuts this morning, and it was a major mix-up, so we tried to send a few deputies out at the last minute, but it might be hard for them to get back. But again, thank you very much for coming out this morning, and welcome to Lehigh County's 2020 budget preview, if you will. This is the first time that this presentation is going out live on Facebook. This is the first time that this presentation will be taped and will be on the county website. I think it is very, very important that government is transparent and that all the citizens of Lehigh County will, after today, understand a lot better the budget of 2020 of Lehigh County. So starting, I guess, officially, as your county executive, Phillips Armstrong, this is my second year doing a budget. I've learned a lot. I actually kept something from the morning call that appeared last year after this budget. Lehigh County needs to change in how we do things. And I have spent the last year trying to do those changes. And we're going to go through those as we go through these slides. I'm going to probably hit this a number of times today, and I'm sorry. But first of all, I want to thank the Lehigh County Commissioners that are here today, Commissioner Dougherty and Commissioner Gramis. We're expecting two others. They hopefully will come out, but this is already 100% improvement over last year. So it's working. I purposely this morning asked my wife to pick out the most purple shirt I have, and here comes Commissioner Zanelli in now. So we've tripled the amount of last year. But the reason I wanted to wear a purple shirt is what I have been trying to do for 2 years is not be Republican, not be Democrat. Purple, mixture of both. And that's what we are trying to accomplish. This year's budget, with the work of some of the greatest people in Lehigh County that are our employees. And our fourth commissioner, sneaking in the back door, Dan Hartzell. Okay. This, again, I am so proud that four have come today. This is a major showing of cooperation between administration and the board. But as I said, our employees is what makes Lehigh County work. From the Director of Administration, Ed Hosa, Tim Reeves, who probably hasn't had a night home in the last month on the CFO part of working this budget out, Rick Mulchaney, our head of General Services, and the problems with the capital planning and all of the things he's done, Frank Kane with our Community and Economic Development, Kay Achenbach in our Human Services, all of my cabinet. And I probably should list them all, but then it will take a lot longer. But believe me, it's these people that are working for you, Lehigh County residents, that makes us, I think, one of the best counties in the state of Pennsylvania to live in. And besides cabinet, workforce, let's go down to the workers. All of the 2,000 and, well, it's more than 2,000 employees now. They come to work every day in Lehigh County whether it's the corrections, our senior citizen homes, our parks and recreation, even our maintenance people, our human service people. What they do for this county every day makes this a wonderful, wonderful place to work. And I'm very proud to be the executive of all of these people. It really does make our job a lot easier. Now, the 2020 budget is fiscally responsible and adheres to the 5-year plan. I think it's very important for the executive and the commissioners to look down the road, that we don't end up like some municipalities and some cities and some states 2 to 3 years down the road with a debt that cannot be faced without a 70 or 80% tax cut. You cannot run a county on a yearly basis. It has to be down the road. And in fact, as Rick Mulchaney pointed out, 30 years from now, Coca-Cola Park, for 20 years from now, our zoo, all of these things, you have to start saying now, how are we going to deal with this? This budget will maintain the $25 million stabilization fund. In a little bit, I will go over how important the stabilization fund is and why it should be maintained. There are some people that will look at that and say, why? Well, I hope at the end of today you'll have the answer to why we need that stabilization fund. It prioritizes the protection and security of the most vulnerable among us, the people that we work with in our human services, the people that we treat at our Cedar Brook homes in Fountain Hill and in Allentown. It needs to make them feel that they count and that we are there as the safety net. It also has money to invest in our infrastructure repair. As you know, the state has pulled out a lot of money in that department and put the burden on counties and municipalities. We can't just not do anything. We can't let a bridge go unsafe. We can't. It's not in the cards for us to be negligent on that. So this budget, I hope, will be dealing with this. This administration has made every effort to be transparent, accessible, and open with the Board of Commissioners. First time ever, we invited the Board of Commissioners to attend every one of our budget sessions. These do last for hours, and I understand that the board does have other jobs, and it is difficult to get to, and actually some were on vacation. But the fact is, we're opening the door. We want them to sit and listen with us as everybody comes in and explains their needs for 2020 and beyond. We have worked so hard to remove politics from this process. There are people who will constantly bring it up, but on the federal level and even on the state level, you see what happens when people just talk politics. They don't get the job done. In Lehigh County, in local government, we are elected, and in fact, Commissioner Grammis said it the best a year ago. If you don't mind, I will quote you again, because I've heard the same thing all over the county. People elect us to do what's right. And I think Mr. Grammis's quote was, that's what people were telling him up in Slatington. Do the right thing. Well, that's what I'm hoping this budget will do. We have utilized the 5-year plan that has been requested to us by the Board of Commissioners. And the 5-year plan has been developed by our Chief Financial Officer, Tim Reeves. and it takes everything we're doing and brings it out 5 years. So we see what happens now and what's going to happen by 2023. And we need to be prepared. And Commissioner Doherty has said a number of times, we don't know if we'll be here then, but we have to make sure the county will be in good hands then. And that's very, very important in this budget. To do things to open the door between the commissioners and the administration, they have asked me for the early audit, which is still or the early version of how we did last year. It has been held in the past till May before they passed it over to the commissioners. They asked me, can we have it sooner? Absolutely. As soon as we got it, we passed it on to the board. I think that showing everybody, we are trying to work with this board. We have recently, they had asked us about our health care reports. They have not been shared with the board in the past. We are sharing them with the board. We also have agreed, and this is just recently, in this budget, if there is a surplus, you all have to realize that this budget is being made now in August to start in January to go to the following January. So we're trying to predict 18 months in advance. If we're over by $1 million in a $514 million budget, that's, excuse the language, damn good. That's not even a 1% error. But for those people who say, well, there's extra, I've already agreed with the Board of Commissioners that if there is a surplus, because you do have to plan this far in advance, and I would rather have over than under. And if there is over, we will put it right into capital and use it to pay for things instead of borrowing. And I know there has been a lot of people that have come to the board and said to the board, why aren't you paying cash for things? Well, we can't. Well, if we do have that money, I've agreed that let's do that. So it isn't like we're putting that money extra in something that's not needed. We're going to put it right in for the board to say, look, let's put this into capital, and we agree with that. And I think that's an important step. In making this budget today, we have made a lot of cuts before we present this budget, totaling $638,000. It's not an easy process when everybody comes in front of you with very legitimate requests and great reasons why, but you do have to budget. Will the money be there? How much can we afford? Yes, this would be great, but could we do without this? This kind of a process was long, listening to everybody, going back and asking, but we're very proud that $638,000 was cut before we even brought this up. We are not the administration of the massive spending plan. We are the administration that is trying to be as responsible with taxpayers' money as possible. Now, this balanced budget, and I'm going to still emphasize balanced budget, because as I said, 15 years it's been since an executive stood in front of you and said this is a balanced budget. This is important. We're finally putting it right at the level it should be. And I know a prominent Republican in this area who used to be a commissioner said, don't even come to me if the budget is not balanced. So if he was here today, I'd be glad to come to him and say, this is a balanced budget. Now, if you see the next chart, it's clearly easy to see, and I'm not going to dwell on charts and graphs that long right here, but only 26% of this budget is paid for by Lehigh County property taxes. So when you're looking at a $581,600,600 budget, it's only 26% paid by taxpayers. And I think a lot of people look at that 514 million, 0.6, say, oh my God, that's a lot of taxes. Well, a lot of it is coming through state grants, federal reimbursements, and money we make through things such as licensing, things to that nature. So it's not as scary as kind of looks. Now, the next couple of slides is, what do you get for your dollar? Well, for the first time ever this year, and we will continue to do it yearly, we put out a county newsletter. Our first newsletter, which, by the way, did not cost the taxpayers money, was paid for by the ads, tried to explain to the taxpayers of Lehigh County what every department does and their purpose. And speaking of that, in just a couple of weeks, we are going to start the Lehigh County Academy. And we are going to have classes right here, and we're going to broadcast those classes. For anybody to want to come in, we're going to bring in different departments every week to explain to people county government. Because I know a lot of people in this area still don't really understand what county government is. But it's your law and order. It's your courts, your jail, your district attorney, your sheriff, your public defender, your coroner. It's your Cedar Brook senior care and rehabilitation. It's your general services, our bridges, our parks, our trails, velodrome, historic sites, Coca-Cola Park, Trexler Nature Preserve, emergency management, farmland preservation, all of that. It's salaries, benefits, pension plans. It's administration and all the offices that go with it. It's the judicial records. It's the controller's office. It's all of those things put together. Now, the next slide breaks it down to how many pennies for every dollar goes where. We will definitely make copies of this slide if anybody needs to. It is kind of hard to read up there, and I'm not going to be, I hate PowerPoint presentations, because people stand up there and read everything that people can see right in front of them. And I'm not going to dwell on this, but it is the breakdown of every tax dollar. So if you're wondering, where the largest portion, well, where it should go: corrections, law and order, courts, district attorney, sheriffs, to feel safe in Lehigh County. That is your highest percentage. So, again, copies of that would be made available later. In this budget, Commissioner Doherty and I are definitely on the same page. We were just at the Farmers Breakfast last week. We are very, very proud to continue to put money in our budget for farmland preservation. We rank in the top 5 in the state for farmland preservation. So we are making a commitment in this area, and in this budget, a $3 million commitment. And I think overwhelmingly the taxpayers are in favor of this. This brings about, besides our parks and recreation and our open land preservation, quality of life. Why people choose the Lehigh Valley, and especially Lehigh County, to live. So we will continue to do that. We will, as you've seen the board pass, we are going to be building a new 4-story wing at Cedar Brook. This is going to be a $46.7 million project that we are going to go out on a bond for. I think this is very, very important. There are county-run homes in the state of Pennsylvania, and there are private-run homes. We are so proud that we live in one of the few counties that say it is important to us to take care of our senior citizens, to be there when everybody else has let them go. And we are going to be building a state-of-the-art. We've also, the Board of Commissioners, have made a pledge to replace in the D wing the HVAC system, and that's going to have an $800,000 price tag to it. But it's very, very important. We are going to do $1.3 million upgrades in security at the courthouse. You all know the age that we live in. You all realize the things that are happening that have never happened before. We have to make sure we do the preventive means that they don't happen. We are going to be renovating the old historic courthouse. That's going to be a $9.6 million project, but it's needed. We need that space. We can't let that building go any longer. It's very, very important to us that we update that and upgrade it, and that's in this budget. The velodrome, which we've had for a long time and are very, very proud of it. Imagine having such a venue here in our county where people from all over the world are coming to race. And again, you can't wait till everything gets to the point it can't be fixed. So we are going to be doing a resurfacing plan out at the velodrome. And we're very, very happy of the success this last year at the velodrome. Now, in health care, the first thing in health care that I am very, very personally proud of my staff for what we have accomplished in the last couple of months. I am a member of the County Executives of America, and I'm on the executive committee of that group. And when we have our meetings in Washington, D.C., they bring into us all of the new things that could be helping counties. Drug costs are affecting everybody. In fact, there is an article in the Morning Call today about drug costs. Well, at that meeting last year in the winter, I've learned of new drug programs that could save counties hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I came back and I said to Mr. Hosa, and I said it to Judy Johnson at the time, and I said it to Tim Reeves, we need to do this. And we have spent several months, and just about 2 weeks ago, Mr. Hosa, 2 weeks ago, we signed the deal, and I am so proud to say our medical expenses we will save without any change to anybody's prescription plan, because it's very important that we protect our workers. But by switching and staying, well, we stayed with Highmark, but we kind of showed Highmark, here's a thing out here that is a way of getting us a lot of savings. We signed the deal, and we are going to save $1.5 million. So I go back to what I said in the beginning. We are not an administration of spending. We are an administration that is trying to and working as hard as we can to save taxpayers' money. And this $1.5 million is a huge step in the right direction. The rest of the slide kind of shows you what we put in, the benefits that go to retirees, and what our employees put in. The following slide with the graph, the reason we're at $29.8 million for county health care. That would have been $32 million if it wasn't for that $1.5 million savings. So, you know, costs go up. You can't every year say, well, this is what worked last year. Well, last year, that was fine. Salaries went up, benefits went up, costs went up. So we can't operate on last year. We have to look forward to the future. The employee health care payroll deductions have stayed just about the same for the last 2 years, and not much difference there. We're proud to kind of keep it at that. Now, next, and I think this is an important announcement. The 2020 budget, we have met with actuaries and we have met with our people who are the experts on the pension. And they explained that the best thing we could do is what's called a smoothing process. Now, I'm not going to try to even explain that to you other than make it very easy to say, when we look at our investments and how to make sure our retirement fund stays there for all of the people, that they know they can count on this when they retire. Instead of saying the stock market, here's one good year, let's do this on that year. The smoothing process basically means let's put a number of years together, look what the balance is, and be safe and secure in our investments. Yeah, it might mean that if it's a great year, we missed out on a lot. But it also means if it's a really bad year, our retirees are still going to have their income. We are one of, and Controller has told me this, Mr. Eckhart has said, our county, when he had just had the county convention of auditors, there are counties out there that their pension funds are only 36% funded. We're 86.5% funded. So again, we're not taking it down to the point where we're endangering a fund that people are wondering about. And I know the state a number of years ago stopped putting into their retirement fund, and we all know what happened after that. That's not going to happen in Lehigh County. We're going to make sure it doesn't. Now, the county pension fund contribution, as the next slide says, is just what I kind of said. So now, the next one are new positions in this budget. And as I said, I cut over $600,000. However, we did see a need to increase certain positions, starting off with 2 new sheriff deputies. The sheriff was absolutely correct in explaining to us that the state now requires them with PFAs to do searches of homes for weapons. Now, I think that was a great law, but the only thing that was missing in the law, the state did not say, and counties, here is some extra money to now enforce this. And it is very, very good that we're out there, and if there is somebody with a PFA, with a gun, and we know domestic violence issues, that we have a number of trained deputies to go out there and do this. So definitely agreed with Sheriff Hanna on the 2 extra deputies. He wanted more, but you know, we agreed on 2. Mr. Martin is dealing with in Lehigh County, and he's doing a fantastic job at it, but we do have a gang problem. And he has come to us for a new RIIC gang investigator. We agree. I think it is one of our jobs to help solve that problem. And we'd agree with Mr. Martin completely. Not that he's not already doing a number of great things that we are. If you've seen, he got over $1 million grant for the RIIC from the federal government, out of a grant that was only $1.5 million to be given out to the entire United States. We got most of it, thanks to what Mr. Martin has been doing in the RIIC and his department. So these are the kind of things that, again, provide the safety for the people in this county. Our public defender and our president judge both wanted one extra position. Both were talking basically a social worker to kind of take people through the process, see how quickly we could help them. Take the job that instead of paying lawyer hourly wages, and let's have a social worker. So I brought in Ms. McCool and Mr. Reedman, Judge Reedman, and we had a sit down. And I said, how about if we have one person that can work with both of you, and we think will save the county money. The sooner we get people out of jail into a place of residence, in which, by the way, this is another press conference coming up later, but we're working with Promise Neighborhoods on housing, because the big thing in getting people out is getting them a residency. So we are not just sitting on our hands here. We're doing these things. But I think Kim thinks, and Judge Reedman thinks, and Ms. McCool, we think that this is a position that in the long run will be saving us dollars. Prevention versus let's throw them in jail and have to pay that. So I think this is going to help out. We need a new another translator, obviously. We do have a high amount of Spanish-speaking people in Lehigh County, and that does require us to have another translator. It's an important part. And again, it's important duty of the county to provide this service. And we need a ID program specialist, which we're obviously in the new world of tech, we need to do. Now, the budget highlights. The reporter from the Morning Call, Tom Shortell, said to me a little while ago, typical politician burying the lead. I don't think I buried the lead. I think the lead was, we have looked at a 5-year plan. We have looked at a budget that needs to be balanced. And in doing this, we came up with a total amount of money of $514.6 million, which means we need to come up with $115 million to pay that bill. Now, this was not brought up by a Republican or a Democrat. This was brought up by numbers, by strictly numbers. And the number then is 3.84. Now, what that breaks down to in the next slide is approximately, for the average home, $771.84 bill for their taxes. Now, what does that mean? That means we broke it down to a little over $3 a month more. So for $3 more a month, I can stand here and say that will take us through the next 5 years, barring a hurricane that wipes out bridges, a tornado that destroys our building, or anything other than that, or a complete meltdown to the coroner's office and autopsies under normal circumstances. Now, if somebody said, would you sign a contract to promise that would be it for the next 5 years? I can't, because I can't predict those things. But I can say, under the procedures that we have followed and all of the things that we have looked at, this makes the 5 years. So what we're saying basically, and I know this ends up being the lead, county executive raising taxes. Not the lead. The lead is we have a balanced budget. We have worked very hard to keep the communications open with the board, and we have come up with, and when I say we, the numbers came up with 3.84. Now, the next slide is, I think, the best slide, and boy, would that nice be the lead. Lehigh County taxes lower than their neighbors. That, I think, would make a great lead. As you see, we are, I almost want to yell Penn State here, but we are number one as being the best fiscally responsible county. And we're one of the largest counties. We have the third largest city in the state. And yet, it is the cheapest place for property taxes, because we have worked very hard to make sure every dollar is spent wisely, and our employees work every day to make sure that all our services are 100% great and efficient. So, as far as a great headline, Lehigh County beats Northampton and Berks in tax rates. Wouldn't that be nice? But that doesn't necessarily sell papers. Historic millage rates, if you look, we have gone up, we have gone down. I am not going to go to the past. Last year, I did. And I had some people a little upset that I brought up the past. Not. We now have to move forward. This is the tax rate that moves us forward from this point on. Regardless of what happened, this is where we are, this is what the numbers say, and this is what we have to do the 5 years. We don't want to, I know years ago, one county executive didn't raise. The next county executive came in and said, oh my God. And the raise went, whoo. Don't want to do that. We're at the point now. Yes, I did say last year, and it was kind of thrown back at me, but last year I did say, well, we could probably go one more year. I'm not saying that this year. We probably can't go one more year. $3 a month now, I have no problem facing the taxpayers and saying, this is what you're getting for that $3. This is what you're getting extra. This is what's keeping us as being the best county in the state. This is what's paying our employees a wage that they deserve. This is what's paying the medical and keeping our pension and the stabilization fund. The next slide is the graph, and the orange is the point that we're trying to make with this budget. When I'm saying the stabilization fund, a lot of people have come to the commissioners' meeting and said, why do you need that? Take it down to 0. Well, let me give you the exact answer so you know why we need that. The county does not make any money from January to April. We are not making any money. Where do we get the money to pay our bills from January to April? The stabilization fund. So I had Mr. Reeves go back and say, what we're coming out in those months? And it's been as high as $24.9 million that we've had to go to the stabilization fund to pay. So we have set, because we think that makes the most sense, $25 million as the stabilization fund. Now, few things here. Why is it important? The lower that fund goes, the worse our bond rating can be. We're going out on a 48 or 60-some million dollar bond. If just 0.5% lower, if a creditor says, well, your stabilization fund isn't there, what would happen if you can't pay that bill and your credit rating drops? If it drops just 0.5%, that's a $4 million hit to our taxpayers. So $3 a month now, or 10 to 15 a month later. We don't want that to happen. We think it's very important to keep this county on a AA rating, that we get the best rating for our bonds, that we keep that stabilization fund. And if you look in 2023, the little tiny blue, that's where it would be if we don't change things now. You see that it's going down every year. This is the point of no return. It's not, we can't go one more year. We can't do that anymore. This is the year. No person running for office wants to go to the taxpayers and say, I raised your taxes. But I'm going to go back to Mr. Grammis's comment. I was elected to do what's right. And that's what this budget is. It is what is right for Lehigh County. Thank you.